Get in the zone. Hi, it's the third meeting for this week, and I must say personally that I've enjoyed every single one of them. I'm sorry, I didn't realise it was Easter Friday. Well, it is in New Zealand, but it is for most people now because it is now quarter past. A bit late today because I had to reboot, but it's 9:15 here in New Zealand on Friday, Easter Friday, Good Friday. And however you choose to celebrate Easter, um, I hope it goes well. With me, it's mostly family and lots of Easter eggs on Sunday and the Easter egg hunt that the little kids are really, really excited about. If you follow the various other aspects of Easter, blessings to you, and I hope that you come together with those that are of like mind with you to do the same. And so the format, as usual, is going through a couple of questions that were asked on reflection to realisation. I think if it's all right with everybody, that I'll start muting. That way, then there is no distraction. And so the thing I will do is answer a couple of the questions that were posed on R&R. And then I will put it out to if you have any questions yourself. So as I'm doing this, if you think of any questions that you want me or whoever works through me to answer them, then feel free to pose them. I don't care what they are, how they are, if they're individual, global, universal. The personal energies that are with me today are incredibly hot. I feel my whole body. So I kind of know that some of you that are watching this right now are sick at the moment, so there will be quite a healing generation from this. And I know that when Sharon works for me, I get really hot, and there is a healing process. Anyway, it's a really lovely give and take, which I'm very blessed to be part of, as I keep telling people that everyone's quite capable of this connection. You may not necessarily connect with Sharon, but you can connect to very similar energies that bring you a positive give and take, an exchange as such between the fact that I'm allowing, or you will allow, those to work through you in ways that you are comfortable with. Everyone's very different. I started off auto writing and have progressed to semi-trance to full trance, depending on what I'm comfortable with. It's been very interesting to watch the last sessions that we've had, and I have noticed that something is working through me very much so, because a lot of the facial expressions that I didn't realize I did, I don't know if I do those in everyday life or it's part of the energies that are working through me when I am having these sessions, which, once I said, I really enjoy them. So I'm going to get to the questions. I don't know who can type in the chat, but I kind of need to be reminded when half an hour is up. The last one was an hour, but if you feel like everyone is comfortable with going on, it's up to you. But I'm very mindful of people and their time, and making sure that half an hour we can just carry on doing the questions. I do plan to do this once a week now that I have a proper headset, but probably over the next 2 weeks I won't be able to because it's school holidays, so I won't have the ability to do that. Maybe at night, who knows? We'll see how that goes. So I'm going to continue on with these questions that I have copied and pasted, and as I said before, I have no idea what these questions are. I haven't read them before reading them tonight. So, and I'm going to continue on with Tina's ones. She had quite a list, and we did manage to get through a few of them in the last session. And the next question she asked is, are our animals and our pets part of our soul families? Well, I almost think that's a bit of a rhetorical question. Everything has an energy, everything has a vibration, and whether or not that energy and vibration is in source, or whether or not that energy and vibration is here with us in our current known reality that we're experiencing in our physical bodies right now, yes, I do believe that animals are part of our soul families. Are all animals part of our soul families? Well, I guess it all dependent on how much of a relationship and how close you are with them. I do think that if you have one of these relationships where you can think something and your animal does something, then you have a very close source or soul relationship back where you are all collectively watching your current experience in your physical body. So that is I'm sure other people have felt as though their animal is very much part of them. So it's I'd be very curious, Tina, to know why you would ask that question. I almost think you probably knew the answer when you asked it. Yes, an animal is part of your soul family. And I don't know if you've ever done any meditation where you've travelled and you've seen pets that have passed over, or even in dreams, see your pets can come back to you in a dream state. And that is because not only their memory, but their energy is still wanting to be around you and is currently around you in source anyway. You may even find that same animal, because I've just recently lost a very dear cat about 6-7 weeks ago, maybe longer. I'm not very good at time. And I believe that energy will be back with me again at some point in some time. Whether or not it'll be in another animal, I do not know. But we'll just leave that up to the experience. Another question Tina asked was, why do young souls try to bring down old soul energy? That is something I have, when I read this whenever I last did my last session, I found this a very interesting question, because I am not entirely sure there is such a thing as an age of a soul, because time, that's a very linear approach to understanding the dynamics of a soul, because I don't think age plays a part of it. So if age does not play a part of it, then I'm not entirely sure how they would bring down, or what that actually means, Tina, bringing down old soul energy. I would probably need for you to elaborate on that question for me to answer it at your level, to be honest, because for me, that whole sentence, I don't think it's possible, because collectively in source, everything is together, everything is one, everything is a whole, and there is no young, old experience there. So if you could get back to me on that question, Tina, I'd really appreciate it, because I just want to try and give it justice, essentially. Another question she asked is, when we die on this earth plane, do we choose the same month to re-enter the earth plane? For example, if I died in June, would I choose to be rebirthed in June? Time does not exist in source. Decision-making processes with regard to time does not exist in source. However, in saying that, from a human perspective, depending on the time you were born in our linear existence and what cosmic influences are around you at that particular time when you are born, and this is all about astrology, so to speak, can influence your personality, your emotions, your ability to progress in a way that you'll lead to a certain occupation. I am not saying that is written in stone, but it's just merely an influence that comes down into that wee life that is born on a particular day, on a particular month or zodiac or time of that particular year. I don't think you necessarily are born and die on the same date. However, in saying that, there is a divine pattern to things. So whether or not your particular soul prefers to be born in a certain way, then that is a choice that soul makes before it gets here. But whether or not it fully understands the concept of time in human linear form at soul level, I would need to ask Cheryl on that a little bit. Uh, it is irrelevant. Time is irrelevant to them. They do not understand our need to put everything in blocked forms, and the way everything we have to put everything in sequence, or we have to put birth, life, death to the extreme. I do not believe, and feel free to disagree on this if you want, but I don't believe that at soul level we choose to be rebirthed on the same month or the same day or things like that. In saying that, though, you will see a lot of families. A lot of people will be born in June. A lot of people will be born. They all seem to have a collective pattern within that family. So one would wonder whether or not there is some influence from a divine perspective for that to occur, but whether or not that is because the energies of the time allow a certain spark to occur, aka conception. So this is something that I would have to really allow Sharon to come through and auto-write this one, because my ego mind is kind of getting in the way of this, because I'm not very good with time myself. So when I see things that talk about linear time from a human perspective, my brain gets in the way. So I would need to actually work with Sharon from automatic writing, or even just to allow him in properly to answer that question fully for you, Tina. You have a very interesting brain, and it's quite interesting. I think you're 10 years ago, these are the kinds of questions I used to ask myself. I'm not saying that you're 10 years behind me. I'm just saying these are very much questions that I asked and have processed over the time, and I don't think I ever got them answered. I just, it is how it is, and that's something that I get told quite a lot as well. The next question is from a person called Carrie, and I'm not going to say your full name, but because I want to ask your permission whether or not I can use this for the public. But she wanted to know, why is it some cannot connect to spirit, yet when it comes to our own past when it comes to our own past loved ones? I will challenge you there, Carrie, and say you can. It's just that your ability to remember how is veiled by your conditioning that you've had over your lifetime. You may need to ask yourself, what in my current focused life has now inhibited me to be able to see spirit? Is it fear? Is it the understanding of what spirit is? Do you want to see them in a full apparition, is what somebody's talking about on ISD at the moment? Or are you more comfortable seeing them as mist or orbs or flashy lights or burning ears, or all the different physical sensations that we experience? Your expectation will affect how you experience spirit or those that have passed over. And your choices that you make with regard to those expectations will dictate also, once again, how things are presented to you from source, from spirit, so whatever energies that you prefer to work with. So, Carrie, you'll need to ask yourself, what is that which is a self-limitation, because this is something that everybody can do if they choose to. And if you've got anything in your life that has told you, one, it's wrong to see spirit, one, it's the work of, negative stuff, that is something that you'll have to work through. There are certain aspects of our upbringing that affect the openness we have to experience anything with regard to spirituality. Just knowing spirituality is not something that's separate to us is vital to realizing that we're capable of all things. It's just telling this ego mind up here that you are ready, that you are worthy, that you are capable, and then allowing your heart energy to show you that you've done this before. At some point, Carrie, you have done this before. You have seen spirit in full apparition. you may have brought through the fact that you're asking this question. It's a flag that you've done this before. You just struggling to try and remember. And the way to remember is to relax and believe that you can do this. And after a time, you'll start experiencing little parts of this ability. When it comes to past loved ones, though, it depends on how close you are to them. It can affect what you're comfortable, if you've got any unresolved feelings that you have with past loved ones. So that's where your own emotions start to come involved with dealing with past or your own past loved ones. It'd be interesting to know whether or not you can see other people's past loved ones, because that emotional tie is not quite as strong. In saying that, though, when you have an emotional tie to something, it's more likely that spirit will gravitate to you when you ask them to. You just have to take off the veil and see them. They may not necessarily present how they were as they passed. Like with my mother, I don't see her as an 87-year-old woman in a wheelchair that was unable to walk very well. I see her as a 24-year-old, vibrant, full of life lady who is cheeky and abrupt and gets away and does the things that she used to do when she was probably 24, because that's the energy that she had even when she was 87. But this is how she's portraying herself to me now. And that's okay. I'm all right with that. Just hit me by surprise when I first saw it. And I actually asked my daughter, how do you see your grandmother now? And she goes, well, I don't see her in a wheelchair. And I said, that's interesting. And then we had this big conversation about how she wanted to be portrayed. So that's the other thing you need to be very mindful of, is that they may not necessarily come to you how you remember them as they transitioned. No, they may come back as a young child or anything. Usually something that you can equate to, oh yes, that's mum, oh yes, that's dad, or oh yes, that's my brother. That type of stuff. So once again, just be very mindful of your expectations when it comes to seeing past loved ones, especially those that are related to you in some way, shape or form. I have been told recently that our ancestors are very, very close to us. And when I say ancestors, I'm talking about those that are of our current perceived lineage, all right, our current life and the lineage that occurred way back. They're coming more last week, not so much this week, because I have acknowledged them and they've sort of disappeared. It's like not fair. You start to acknowledge them and they pull back a little bit. But I was seeing a lot of stuff last week. I wasn't necessarily seeing them in full apparition, but I just knew there was a lot of energy around me that was watching me. Some people got tired, very, very tired from that. Some people are shutting down because of that. And that's okay. It's just that they need to stop and breathe and just, realign themselves back into states that makes them feel a bit more comfortable to receive again. So I hope that asked that part of that question. What else have we asked here? Why is it, although due to having connected spirits, no life exists? No doubt. Oh, I can't understand that question. Oh, okay. All right. I get it. Humans always have this need for proof. And there's nothing wrong with that. And even though we get shown, there is so much that I've been shown over this experience of mine over the last 15 plus years, that they let you know all the time that they're there. Yet you can imagine what my life would have been. I'm incredibly logical. I'm a registered nurse that's been in the scientific medical field that has been taught to think in a logical way to ensure that there is no harm done to the patients that I look after. So you can imagine when spirits started coming, or I've had them since I was a child, but I would always try to logically explain what I was experiencing. But there gets a point where you can't explain and you can't prove anymore. You just have to accept. You just have to allow. And the more you do that, the more you relax into the experiences that we have, then you start to get more and more and more to the point where you have no more doubts, that you realize that there is life after death. I remember watching, because I'm a registered nurse, watching a person pass, and I don't know why, but I saw exactly where she went. I saw who the people that met her at the other end. Yesterday, I saw a tunnel with you, and I saw this, and I saw who met her, and it was family. Um, and even though I got shown this, of course, my ego mind goes, "Well, are you sure you're not imagining that? Come on, you're just following what has been traditionally known. You go through a tunnel and you have people meet you at the end of it." But I actually saw this, and I was wide awake when I saw this, and but then I squashed it down. This was years and years and years ago. But that's just the process that I had to go through before I learned to get to the point where I've had so much experience. Like right now, and I don't know if it's people in this group right now, or it's even you, Carrie. They're a male touched my arm and grabbed hold of it. It's almost like, well, no, it's not me that needs the proof. Is there someone, Carrie, that is grabbing hold of your left arm and you feel a cold chill down that left arm? It'd be very interesting to know whether or not that has happened to you, because it was when I was reading this question about proof. So start being more aware of what's going on around you, and then the need to prove gets less and less and less, and then you start realizing that life is eternal. You have one existence and you move on to another with a little bit of review in the middle. As a person, from my perspective, that's been logical right from the get-go. It does take time to come to that agreement between myself and my oversoul that I connect with and communicate with now from time to time, along with the other energies that work with me. It does take time, and it does take trust, and I've mentioned that before in the previous one, and you've got to trust in the process. So when you trust in the process, then it gets... I know that sounds really hard. How can I trust in the process? But when you actually do, it gets easier and easier and easier. And Margaret's just asked a question. But I will just quickly finish Carrie's one. She says, do I some not feel loved ones around us or have not yet had a connection? Sorry, I can't understand that question. You might have to clarify that, sweetie. But I'll get to Margaret's. Could we choose a time to enter the earth plane to allow those astrological things to become part of our personality? Anything's possible. Nothing is set in stone. I know I said that time is irrelevant, but I do often wonder whether or not, and Margaret's now saying in order for our life path to be fulfilled. Yeah, I'm having troubles with this question only because I suck at time, and I know Source not very good with time. Otherwise, I would be brilliant at time. But everything is possible. Nothing is. I have no right to dispute anything that is not possible. I don't understand why that would be the case, but then when you see the patterns of people when they're born, especially within families, how lots of people are born in April, or it's every 4 months, or, there does seem to be a pattern that arises, but whether or not that pattern is based on the soul families that you come into or around, or it's based on what's happening globally within the human plane, or maybe there is some balance that needs to be maintained from a cosmological, astrological point of view to ensure that there's balance. Because although we try for a balance in life, balance is never, when it comes to existence in life, balance is never perfection. It's always a fluid thing. The ability to try and maintain a certain balanced state within our universal law, so to speak. So what is she saying? Margaret says she doesn't mean it in a time way. I mean for the influences of the planets and such to give us the skills that each sign possesses. Very interesting, but then that I do find the way we define our zodiac although a lot of us connect to what's being said, especially if it's your own Gemini, so you would think communication would be a very strong thing for me. And looking at me right now, yep, you would think, yep, communication is very up the Gemini alley for that lady. And I totally understand duality, which is all about the Gemini mind. However, in saying that, as a young child, completely the opposite. I was really shy. I did not like speaking in front of crowds. I wasn't very black and white. I just took things as they could, as they came. Yes, I had a bit of a split personality. One minute I'd be very shy and obtuse, and the other time I'd be, I was born in as the head, not the head of the family, but the oldest of the siblings, and took over that role. So, not only do you have the time of the year that you were born, but also the place you were born within that family denotes your potential character. So yeah, one would say I can gravitate to leadership qualities. However, when I was growing up, I hated it. I stayed right away from it. So has that become the way because I've been told that this is what it is to be a Gemini? It's that whole chicken and egg thing. What really comes first? Well, do we really need to grow into our sign? Well, it depends if you focus on the sign and it's how it's defined. That would be my question, to be honest. But it's a very, very interesting question, and when it comes to our place within our current perceived reality, knowledge that there are many times that you are experiencing various slants to your current reality all at once. One would wonder if a phoenix has gone into a time where she was born in January, so she's Aquarian, or this is people talk why we have this purpose in life, and I don't know if the time of the year that we were born really has a huge impact. It could have the potential to have an impact, but only if we allow it. Our purpose, one of our purpose in life, or one of our lessons in life, is to be born a Gemini and be the completely opposite. And my dad was. He's a Gemini, and he's the quietest, most unobtrusive man who basically kept to himself, didn't have a lot of friends. And that's nothing about being Gemini. So maybe one of his little mini lessons or sub lessons was to be born Gemini, but to be the completely opposite. So I'm not totally convinced about this whole born at a certain time of the year will denote how you are. But I do question why some families have a pattern that happens there. And that would be a question I would have to table for Sharon at another time. So I can now, that's answering two questions, yep, two people. I can now perhaps bring to the floor if anyone has any questions. I'm going to unmic everybody that I can. I can't do Megs. So Margaret or Sharon, do you have any questions? I mean, I know Margaret did a little bit, but any others? I can't hear me. Oh, there we are.
My question that I just wrote down was because of the question that you answered before, just that maybe we do choose that time to be born so that we do possess those skills to help us along. Whereas if we're born at another time of year, we might not have the skills we need, or we might not be able to grow into what we need. Yeah, I am breaking up. Sorry, I'm squirming. I'm using my hands like you do. So
No, that's okay. Oh, sorry about that. Wow, you're probably connecting into stuff that is bringing forward stuff for to help this settle for you as well. So, I do understand what you're saying, but it all depends on the purpose or the reason to be born in a time that you could be influenced by. Because I think we are born with a truckload of influences from the family that we're born into, from the time of the year that we're born into, from the whatever major universal thing that was happening at that time as you were born, and the people that you interact with, your friends, your dog, your cat, the environment that you live in. We are constantly in states of influence or potential influence. It's just our choices and how we act based on those influences. We're getting constant stimulation that could make us act a certain way, but doesn't necessarily have to. I mean, some people do feel as though they're a victim, or they can't make choices because they're in a situation where they feel helpless. And my heart goes out to them, because that is illusion to the nth degree. Everything is a choice. You can make a decision to stay there or not. It's very binary as to how those influences are going to make you act, how you can bring them, turn those influences that may necessarily be negative into something positive. And I'm not going to demean people that go through some extremely tragic upbringing and or experiences that they've had as a young child or as an adult or anything. This is you putting flavor into your spiritual human soul toolbox. But your choices are the reason for your reality. I mean, you're making the conscious decision, or some people making a subconscious decision, to be in that state and to be in that situation. Otherwise, if you didn't want to be in that situation, then, and I know that sounds really easy, so please don't get me wrong when I say that, because when you have been conditioned to think and be and do a certain way, it takes somewhat more of an effort to change that. But you can change that. Nothing is helpless. Nothing is hopeless. You can make the decisions whenever you feel empowered to do so. Because it's almost like it's a retraining of the way that you've been brought up, the way that you think. Thank you. You're really good at this. My timekeeper is on. Yeah, it's what the best thing to do with anything in life. And I know that, yes, the time of the year that it can now, I know it can affect or influence, but it doesn't. It's not all set in stone. You may have all these influences, but not anything is set in stone. Basically, because you have freedom of choice, the ability to act in a certain way based on what you believe is the right thing to do at that time. And that is why it's really important. And I say this repeatedly, and I probably feel like I feel that I repeat myself quite a lot. But you have the choice to act with conscious thought. The thing that you need to be aware of is when you react. I'm not going to say unconsciously, because that means you'll be fast asleep on the floor, but humans tend to react based on emotion. So if you can take that emotion content out of the equation, which is the hardest thing to do, because you're talking to a person that is very emotional and has been, but now when I experience something, I stop, I assess the situation, I determine whether or not I'm going to act a way that makes me feel good, or am I going to react in a way that just blows everything out of proportion and it makes me feel bad. Now, I've got to the point now of like, well, why would I possibly want to do anything that's going to make me feel bad? If I even a negative thought makes me feel bad, it may not necessarily make anybody that is involved in the situation feel anyway. But for me personally, it's making me feel bad. So I'm going to consciously say, okay, well, that's how they're feeling. I'm not going to buy into it, and I just walk away. Or I emotionally detach myself from the situation. That takes practice. And it's taken me a long time in this last 15 plus years to come to this, especially I think I've done a lot of the growth in the last 5 years because, life is very interesting. I often wonder what people think about me and my life and how it's been, but it has not been a box of fluffy ducks. It's had its challenges, but I'm appreciative of those challenges. I'm grateful for the good things that are happening into my life right now, the abundance that's flowing into my life. But that's because I've made a shift inside of me that's right, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. And I deserve that. And regardless of the influences that I've had in my lifetime to make me think a different way, I am choosing to, sure, I'm really becoming a Gemini. I am getting into the communication. I am getting into roles of, I don't like hierarchy, so I'm not even going to say leadership, but roles where I am the front page. Does that sound better? But regardless of your influences, you can make the conscious choice to act in ways that make you feel good. So that's all I can really say to that. And you guys tingling, I'm glad because it's all part of the healing process. And I did say right from the get-go that you would start feeling things. And I'm very pleased that whoever's with us here tonight is doing that because I feel like my whole body's on fire. It's amazing. So listen to the energies that work through you, embrace them as they come, and remember that you can act in ways that make you feel good. There's no need to act in ways that make you feel bad. I know that sounds really basic and simple, but that we try to make things really complex, and the problem with that is that it just makes us feel overwhelmed and confused. When you simplify, you make sense of the world a whole lot better. So has anybody got any other questions before we round it up? If not, I can, I think this patient person here, I have to read this one because thank you, Sharon, because this one's really lovely. It says, can we truly make a difference to the future of the human race? And how can we promote peace rather than encourage war on a global scale? There are many times I see things on Facebook and I think, oh, I can't watch this. Why do I want to see horrible things that make, and this comes back to choice again, makes me feel bad. I prefer to put out into society, into our, my current reality, exactly what I prefer to see, hear, feel, and encourage. I won't buy into things like, well, I'm not saying I'm condoning war, but I see also how war can create a community, how war can create connectivity. And so what I try to do is take the war out of the equation and think on connectivity and oneness and coming together. So that's how I make the difference in that respect. And just be very, very aware, Vicki, that your thoughts seriously do create, and I keep saying this, create your reality. And the more people collectively that come together and put it out there that we want to see more connectiveness, more oneness, okay, you can throw it out there, you want to see less war. Or, when you talk about the genetically modified foods, instead of focusing on Monsanto or Montasso or whatever their name is, I won't buy into that. I mean, I don't want them to get any energy from me whatsoever. So I will put out there that I want healthy organic living. I will put out there that I expect to see more seeds to be cultivated from people that do start growing gardens in their homes. I will applaud when I see somewhere over in America where they make gardens on their front yard for people to help themselves based from seed. I will focus on the things that I do want to see achieved in our humanity. And I will encourage other people to do the same, because the more people that do that, it generates an energy that just creates more and more and more and more. And it's like a snowball effect. That's how we can make a difference for the future of our human race. Our collective positive momentum that brings positive change globally for humanity, for those that want to be a part of it. Those that don't want to be a part of it, see, I have this theory, and I got told this ages ago, that there are those that are going to be left behind. They choose, and when I say behind, they will be continuing to live amongst us, that will be creating the things that they don't want. They're trying to strive for power, or they're trying to get control, or they're trying to take ownership of things. All that is an illusion. If they want to continue living an illusion, that's their choice. I'm not going to take that away from them. I will try to attempt not to judge them, because I want to focus more on the fact that I want to see positive global change and momentum for the future of our human race, so that most of us are there together, making the difference. The other thing I said to you, Vicki, on R&R is that is a very linear statement. And as far as, what we're currently seeing in our current lifetime, in other areas, other realities, there is huge peace. There is no war. There is understanding amongst others and acceptance of diversity. So if we can shift ourselves more and more towards that energy, then eventually we'll change our own reality and bring together exactly what it is that you are hoping for globally, Vicki. I know it feels like we really can't make a difference. The one person can't make a difference. But the thing is, if we stop there, then we haven't made a difference. But if you know that you're not just the only one, you're one of many with the same types of thought to create the things that you want to see achieved in our humanity, then we will make a future for our humanity. We can promote peace. We can think about the things that that we truly want, and we can acknowledge the things that are happening, but we can mostly focus on the positive aspects around a negative concept. So although war is a horrible thing, or taking away, genetically modified foods, that's just an example of many of the different things that you see on Facebook. But if you focus on what you want to see as opposed to what you do want to see, then that's the thing that you're giving energy to, and energy creates. It's as simple as that. And the more all of us do that, the more we'll reach a consensus of not putting up with certain things any longer, and we'll do it in a positive way. I know that in the 60s they tried to do this, and unfortunately, their energy was in amongst a very dark time, and we're moving into an energy where it's the mother energy, the nurturing energy, the feminine energy, that where everything comes together as one. We are no longer separated. We are together, and we are constantly going to be reminded that in some way, shape, or form. So, Vicki, I hope that answers your question. And I think we should probably call it a night, because it's getting late for some people. And is there anything else anybody wants to say? No? That's fine. I know Margaret Bennett was having trouble saying things. So I'm going to call this session a night. I'm just going to stop the recording, ladies, and then we can have a quick chat before you all go. So thank you once again for an enjoyable time. I always enjoy it. I always speak over time, and I'm really sorry about that. And I'll let you know when the next one's in. Thank you very much. Click here.